At this point, I'm going to introduce our speaker today, Carley Gallant. Carley Gallant-Jenkins is from the Cayuga Nation, Turtle Clan, from the Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. She currently works with full-time at Indspire in the Six Nations as a Senior Development Officer for online giving. As a generational survivor herself, she is passionate about recording the history and the impact of the residential school system in Canada. She is a visual artist and beader. Her works have been exhibited in the Woodland Cultural Centre, Harbourfront, Brantford Courthouse, Fashion Magazine, and featured in film. She curated the 2017 First Nations Art Exhibition, sat on the 2019 jury for the Ontario Arts Council Artists in Communities and Schools project, and presented at the 2020 Gord Downie Education Week. She's also a member of the Indigenous Education Council at Sheridan College and an executive board member for the Family Counselling Centre at Brant. And today she's entitled her service Enriching Canada through Indigenous Education. Indspire serves First Nations, Inuit, Métis, and students in remote communities, rural areas, and urban centers across Canada. With the funding it receives, Indspire disperses financial awards, delivers programs, and shares resources with a goal of increasing graduation rates in Indigenous students. It accomplishes this by serving educators, community, rural areas, and other stakeholders who are committed to improving Indigenous success from kindergarten through grade 12. Carley will speak with her profound personal perspective about the impact the program Indspire brings to young Indigenous generations.
Sorry, I didn't realize how tight my skirt was with this baby in here, and I almost couldn't get up that step. That would have been embarrassing. So Scano, Carley Gallant-Jenkins ni Getsio. Oswega Dwega Denyo. I'm sorry, I'm a Cayuga learner. This next word's a difficult one. Ganyate niwak shaute, gayakono niwak wenchote. So as you've heard already now twice, my name is Carley Gallant-Jenkins. I am from Six Nations. I am Turtle Clan, Cayuga Nation, and I am the Senior Development Officer for Online Giving at Indspire. And today I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and also about the work that Indspire does and the impact you all have made already by being here today. So I'm going to go through a slide to just give you an overview of Indspire. This, as I was writing this for you today, I realized just how much Indspire does for the community. I know it by being a previous recipient, and I know it by working there. But this is a great quick overview for you. And then afterwards, I was trying to leave as much room as possible for Q&A, because I think that's the best part about today is the fact that I'm here in front of you all and I get to hear your questions, hear your comments, and answer as honestly and openly as I possibly can. So I can go to the next slide now. And it's so many years ago, as a young art student, I was so honored to be an Indspire recipient. This financial support helped me to remove roadblocks and helped to purchase a lot of art supplies and pizza, and assisted me on the path to graduating. So having been empowered by the support from Indspire, actually at the time called National Aboriginal Achievement Foundation, I was able to continue my journey after school as an arts programmer, a curator, an artist, and eventually led me to the world of fundraising. And had the opportunity to run the Save the Evidence campaign to save the former Mohawk Institute residential school building to turn it into a space for healing and education. From there, that path led me back to Indspire and to help more Indigenous students reach their highest potential. So I'm so proud to be standing here with you all today, knowing in this room, virtually and physically, we have the power to change lives. So next slide, why Indspire? Indspire is a national Indigenous registered charity that invests in the education of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people for the long-term benefit of these individuals, their families, communities, and Canada. Our vision is to enrich Canada through Indigenous education by inspiring achievement. In partnerships with Indigenous, private, and public sector stakeholders, Indspire educates, connects, and invests in First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people so they will achieve their highest potential. Next slide. So our mission and mandate. Our vision is to enrich Canada through Indigenous education by inspiring achievement. Our vision, mission, and mandate help us as we strive to reach our goal, our North Star. And our North Star is that within a generation, every Indigenous student will graduate. Next slide. Since 2004, Indspire has awarded over $151 million in financial support to more than 48,700 students, making it the largest funder of Indigenous education outside of the federal government. This is an inspiring stat, but another number I want you to know about is that Indspire can only meet about 25% of the financial need. So with your support and our community support, we can work to close this gap and ensure that within a generation, every student will graduate. All right. Oh, we're already on the next slide. So just to give you some big numbers, if Indigenous people had the same education and employment level as non-Indigenous people, Canada's GDP would go up by $401 billion by 2026. And by closing the education gap, the employment gap, and the income gap would have an impact of $335 billion by 2031. And that doesn't include the savings from healthcare, incarceration, and foster care costs. Next slide. So I'm going to quickly go over some of Indspire's programs. And then feature specifically on our Building Brighter Future one. So thanks to the generous support of donors and our programs span the most pressing educational needs of Indigenous youth, including early learning support and financial aid for post-secondary students. So these programs include our Building Brighter Future Scholarship Bursary Awards, which is the one I was the previous recipient of. So this one of the biggest barriers to post-secondary education is money. Our flagship program funds students who want to attend university or college, helping them achieve their dreams. Our next program is the Rivers to Success, mentoring Indigenous students. There's 3 streams to this program to ensure that innovative mentoring resources are ready to support Indigenous youth, no matter where they are on their journey. And finally, our Teach for Tomorrow program. This bold initiative is being piloted in Winnipeg currently and will increase Indigenous student success by growing the number of Indigenous teachers in classrooms across Canada. All right, and so then again, I'm going to highlight a little bit on our Building Brighter Futures program. So there are so many Indigenous youth who want to learn and grow and make life better for their communities, but the lack of funding they need, they lack the funding they need for post-secondary education. And that's where Indspire and partners like you are making a difference. The Building Brighter Futures program supports these students with vital financial aid for all fields of study, whether that be at a university level, a college level, or in the trades programs. Next slide. Since 1996, we dispersed more than $217 million through over 66,000 scholarships, bursaries, and awards to Indigenous students nationwide. So just last year, 2022 to 2023, Indspire provided more than $27 million through 7,522 bursaries and scholarships to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis students. So I want to take a moment to highlight Cadmus Delorme, who's highlighted down below of the slide. So with the help from Indspire, Cadmus Delorme attended First Nations University and obtained a master's degree in public administration. Receiving the scholarship nourished his appreciation of the fundamental role of education and deepened his belief in its power to lift young people in the right direction. So he said, "Just to know that there is a caring group that wants you to succeed makes all the difference in a young person's life." So having recently completed his term as chief of the Cowessess First Nations in Saskatchewan, Cadmus has built a powerful record of accomplishment, achieving success at every turn on his journey. And actually, since writing this, he has now completed his term of chief, and he has been asked to be joining the special committee that is working on the ground searches of all the residential school buildings. So he's doing amazing work since becoming an Indspire alumni. Next slide. So our Indspire Research Knowledge Nest. This is a unique program because this is the first Indigenous research program of its kind in Canada, with data analysis skills rapidly becoming critical to economic success. The Research Nest is poised to seize this exciting opportunity to foster Indigenous engagement and leadership in a quantitative research and data science roles. The program is guided by an advisory committee of researchers, leaders, and key stakeholders who provide direction and input on the development of this important initiative. So next slide. Not only do we offer those different programs, we also have our key Indspire events. So our annual events are a way to celebrate those who are making a difference in the lives of Indigenous people across Canada. They may be community leaders, artists, educators, scientists, public servants, and more. And we do this to inspire Indigenous youth to fulfill their potential. And these events include our Indspire Awards, which is the televised awards recognize leadership and achievement, inspiring Indigenous Canadians of all ages. Our Soaring Indigenous Youth Empowerment Gathering. This is a 2-day gathering which Indigenous youth from across the country attend. They get to go to interactive career workshops, meet employers, talk to role models, and go on campus tours. And the National Gathering for Indigenous Educators. So this features workshops, networking opportunities, and innovative resources. This 3-day event is an opportunity for educators to connect to help. Sorry, this kid in me is doing backflips right now, and I'm feeling like I'm on a roller coaster. Clearly doesn't like me speaking. So opportunity for educators to connect to help their students succeed. All right, next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a few of those events, because those events really do help our students on their journey. So our Indspire Awards celebrate Indigenous achievement. To date, Indspire Awards have honored 406 Indigenous achievers. Previously, actually, our current CEO, Mike Degonier, was a recipient of one of these awards before he became our CEO. And 434,000 viewers tuned in last year for Indspire Awards on CBC and APTN. We don't have the final numbers yet, but our 2023 Indspire Awards just aired this past month. Next slide. As we talk about these recipients of not just the bursary, but of also our Indspire Awards, I want to talk about Alana Robert. She is a member of the Manitoba Métis Federation and was the first person in her family to graduate from university. Alana is not only a past Indspire bursary recipient, but also was recognized with the 2020 Indspire Youth Award. So in Alana's words, once you receive support from Indspire, it's like you start 10 steps ahead because it transforms everything. Indigenous youth are capable of greatness. We have the strength and resilience of our ancestors walking behind us. That helps us be stronger and better equipped to tackle the big issues. That helps us to ensure that the future is safer and more equitable for all. So since graduating, Alana has made an incredible impact for Indigenous communities. Her unrelenting determination to fight for Indigenous women's rights and to create positive change has resulted in her being named one of Canadian Lawyers' top 25 most influential lawyers in Canada in the human rights, advocacy, and criminal category. And she also received a Governor General's Award and recently represented Ontario Native Women's Association at the Supreme Court of Canada on the importance of recognizing Indigenous laws on women's inherent and sacred roles when considering equality rights under the Charter. And I believe she is under 28 and she's done all that. So she's impressive. It was an honor to get to interview her recently for Indspire. And she's just endlessly inspiring. She's the first time I've read anything about her without crying. So the next slide. Our Soaring Indigenous Youth Empowerment Gathering. So this has the goal to encourage youth to stay in school and pursue post-secondary education. Every year, hundreds of Indigenous high school students travel from across Canada to learn about educational and career opportunities. They also get to be inspired about what they can do with their futures. They attend interactive career workshops, meet Canada's top employers, talk to role models from the Indigenous communities, go on campus tours, find out about Inspire's bursaries and scholarships, and see firsthand the benefits of staying in school and moving forward with their education. We also recently started our Soaring travel fund so that we can help students access this event better. And then our National Gathering for Indigenous Education. So the National Gathering has the goal to support educators through professional development. This annual conference brings together educators who work with Indigenous students. It's a chance for them to attend top-notch workshops, collaborate with their peers, and learn from high-profile guest speakers like Cindy Blackstock and Wab Canoe. Educators and school boards have seen tremendous value in attending this conference. What started with 250 attendees in 2013 has grown to a gathering of over 1,200 professionals involved in Indigenous education. Next slide. Now that we've reviewed Inspire's programs and events, let's walk through how Inspire is able to support students on this student journey. So at the elementary school level, we are able to support students by supporting educators at the National Gathering for Indigenous Education. Then once they have graduated onto high school, we are able to, again, support through the National Gathering for Indigenous Educators, and also by students having access to the high school stream of the Rivers to Success program. They're then also able to then attend the Soaring Indigenous Youth Empowerment Gathering. And finally, the high school stream of our Building Brighter Futures bursary. We continue our journey on to post-secondary education. We can continue to support students through the Rivers to Success program with the post-secondary stream and with our Building Brighter Futures scholarship program. And finally, graduation and career. We are able to continue our support for our students through the career transition stream of the Rivers to Success program, which gives Indigenous students guidance through resources, events, and mentorship. Next slide. So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has 94 calls to action, which I'm sure you are all familiar with, to help heal the injustice and pain caused by residential schools, help non-Indigenous people understand the role of education as we move forward with reconciliation. Inspire's programs are addressing these calls to action and helping communities heal through education and inspiration. In the words of Senator Murray Sinclair, education is what got us here, and education is what will get us out. So final slide. Actually, there's a couple slides of thank you for images of students. It's time for you to ask me some questions. I'm an open book. So we actually do ask students after they received their funding to provide us with an image. And a lot of the times we get back lovely, lovely thank you messages in language. Sometimes they create artwork for us, but they're all very appreciative of the funding available. All right, questions?